welcome back to Plague of Shadows. Last time we took back the Explodatorium, as well as taking over the Armor Outpost, and in the Armor Outpost was another Troupple Acolyte. They gave us a Troupple Chalice, so this time we're actually going to get the reward from the Troupple King. There's kind of two rewards though, one being obviously the Ichor, and the second being teaching Plague Knight how to dance, which involves having this very long Troupple dance again, but somehow they made it longer, and it's kind of nice to look at, you know, not nice for talking over in a Let's Play, but they do add some new little bits of animation, some new sprites for the Troupple King, which is pretty neat. But that's really all there is to it. I mean, we've kind of seen everything already. It's not very good for commentary in a Let's Play. That's all I really have to say. I guess I could talk about what the Ichor does now, because we're getting pretty close to the end of the song. Now, Plague Knight actually has to pay for his Ichors, and rather than actually getting his Ichors in a cup, like with Shovel Knight, he instead gets new armors. Some of them are kind of similar to what Shovel Knight's armors could do. I'm going to be getting the treasure trappings, and as you can see, rather than spitting into the cup, Plague Knight himself gets spit on, and his, clothes change color accordingly. The treasure trappings make it so that when you die, you drop half as much treasure, kind of like with the final guard of a Shovel Knight, but as an added effect, when you charge your shot, or just, charge up a bomb burst, money attracts to you, kind of like having the Ichor of Fortune. As you can see, as I'm just standing around, the money is coming toward me. And that kind of can be a good thing and can be a bad thing. It can be a bad thing because of the potions. If you're charging near a pit where there's a potion, then rather than the potion going up and kind of arcing to go above wherever you were just standing and then falling onto you, it'll attract towards you. And that might mean it getting caught on like the corner of wherever you're standing on, and you miss out on the potion by accident. So don't hold a charge while digging up some potions, but other than that, it's really the most useful armor, in my opinion. All of the other ones kind of change the way Plague Knight works a bit too much. I'm not sure if I'm going to be buying them later on, so I'll just talk about them in this stage. The Goo Garment will make it so that Plague Knight bounces off of walls if he bomb bursts into them. And while he's bouncing, he actually does a little, like, Sonic the Hedgehog kind of spin, so he can plow through enemies. But I'm not sure if he takes damage during that spin, like if it actually hurts him and the enemy at the same time, or if he's invincible during it. I don't use it that much, so it's kind of whatever to me. Although it does give his cloak a nice green color that I really like. And then the basically the equivalent to the Mail of Momentum, I think it's called the Heavy Robe. Makes his colors red and black like the Mail of Momentum, and it makes it so that rather than taking knockback, he actually stays in place when he gets hit, but in exchange you're a bit more slippery when you walk around. And Plague Knight is kind of already slippery compared to Shovel Knight, I think, so kind of be forewarned that you might be falling off of pits that you don't want to when playing as Plague Knight if you decide to go with that Mail of Momentum thing. Heavy Robe, yes. And then there is the equivalent to the ornamental gear that I forget the name of. It makes Plague Knight all gold and stuff, When he jumps, he has sparkles behind him. His jumping animations change. His win animation changes. So like when you beat a boss or whatever, when you clear a stage, his animation changes to be pretty dang cool. I actually really like the animation, but it's again not useful. So instead I'm going to be using these treasure trappings, only for one of its uses though, only for the magnetism thing. The whole dying and losing only half as much money as previously just isn't useful to me because I don't die. And that got us through the entirety of Plague Knight's own section. As for the bio on Mole Knight, the shovel may rule the confines of man-made gardens, but in the wild, the titan of tunneling is the mole. Mole Knight embraces this truth wholeheartedly. With his modified drop-forged armored claws, he mockingly tears through the earth with brute strength. Mole Knight calls the subterranean Lost City his home, an ancient abandoned metropolis. Shovel Knight must pass through the Lost City, but chances are slim he won't be challenged to see who is truly the master of digging. Kind of fits better in Shovel Knight's campaign, but, you know, same stuff applies, he's still the same person. As for the pros, great eyesight, shrewd, and high endurance. Kind of an odd pro for a mole, considering moles have bad eyesight. I guess that's the joke. And then cons, obsessive personality, and gets sweaty in his armor. Considering there's lava everywhere, fire and stuff, that kind of makes sense. And considering that he has the, you know, high endurance and whatever, doesn't really make sense, because still the easiest boss to take down, even as Plague Knight, in my opinion. But we'll get to the boss fight when we get to the boss fight. Something cool about the treasure trappings is that if, say, an enemy died in a fiery pit just like that one, the one in the previous screen, you can activate your magnetism while near it, and you'll be able to grab the money without having to fall into the lava or anything like that. And I am going to be very daring here and perform this super awesome trick jump that honestly was an accident while I was practicing. Like, I accidentally blew up all three lines of rocks or whatever. But then I thought to myself, well, considering how Plague Knight can essentially fly, I should be able to get past this without needing any platforms, and I did, and it felt awesome, and I think it looked awesome. We got a new Arcana here, and kind of like how the Staff of Surging is an alternate Dust Knuckles, in my opinion, how the Big Boom is an alternate anchor, a better anchor. The Smoke Bomb is an alternate Phase Locket. Kinda works the same, and kinda doesn't. When you're standing within the smoke produced by said bomb, you'll not take any damage, you'll be invincible, you could stand on spikes and all that, kinda like with the Phase Locket. And it lasts longer, technically, than the Phase Locket, because as long as you're staying within that smoke, you're invincible, and then once you're out of the smoke, you still have a brief bit of invincibility. So it lasts longer. It takes up 3 chunks of your power meter, so pretty costly. And at the same time of it being better than the Phase Locket, it's also at the same time worse. When you use it, you need to stay within that smoke bomb in order to get a lot of invincibility. And that smoke bomb is constantly moving forward, so you have to be constantly walking very slowly to make the most out of the invincibility. It doesn't have as many combat applications as the Phase Locket does. So, well, maybe it does. It depends on the situation, really. So in certain situations, the Phase Locket would be better. In certain situations, the Smoke Bomb would be better. Overall, I just don't use it as much as I use the Phase Locket. I'm sticking with the Big Boom for most of this campaign because it's so dang useful. And back to the whole making the lava bits gelatin so that we may bounce on them. Of course, Plague Knight can skip a couple things because of his extra jumps and bomb burst. And there's the first music sheet. We honestly don't need to, whatchamacallit, we don't need to make the lava into the gelatin, but I'm going to anyway just to be safe. This stage was probably the hardest to record because once I figured out that little trick, after exploding all of these bomb blocks, I guess you could call them, I wanted to record myself getting through the stage like that. You know, doing that cool trick that I probably didn't figure out on my own, but, well, I did figure it out on my own, but I'm probably not the first person to see that and figure it out. But I'm the first person I know that's done it, so, you know, it makes me look cool, at least to myself. But it also meant doing a lot of retakes after getting that quote-unquote perfect practice run, because as I've said before, when I'm practicing, I go until I complete a stage without dying, and then I essentially do the stage again on another file with the stipulation of destroying all the checkpoints as well. But that jump was just too much for me to do in just one run, so I ended up doing a lot of non-practice reruns of this stage, which was kind of a chore, but I look cool in the end, and that's really all that matters. Speaking of looking cool, you might have seen me do it a few times, and the Tropical King explained this, but while playing as Plague Knight, if you tap down, of course you'll do the same thing as Shovel Knight, where you kind of crouch your knees a little bit, do a bit of a little dance, I guess you could call it. However, after watching that actual dance, if you hold down, you can actually dance. And you can do it in a lot of situations. For example, if you're just walking around doing nothing, you can dance. If you're standing still during some dialogue or something like that, you can dance. It's a pretty good taunt, especially in a boss fight. At least before the boss fight, while the dialogue is happening. I like to do that sometimes. And we're at the boss, speaking of the devil himself. And Plague Knight does kind of fit into this little situation going on. You know, Mole Knight and Shovel Knight were like, oh, my shoveling is better than yours. But, you know, shoveling isn't the only way to get through the earth. There's also demolition, and there's the little dance again. I'm going to be using the smoke bomb a little bit, but, you know, it's still not as useful as a phase locket for boss fights, so mostly going to be my regular black bombs that are going to be doing the trick. Or black powder, you know, bounce casing, standard fuse bombs. I just call them black bombs because that's what the powder's called. It's a very neutral sounding name. Now that I think about it, this might actually be a good fight for the Staff of Surging. I didn't talk about why I used the Staff of Surging in my, you know, personal playthrough during the fight with Shovel Knight. There's actually a feat that you can get in that stage only, during that boss fight only, if you get through it without destroying any of the blocks underneath you. Of course, I destroyed a ton of them, but if you use the Staff of Surging as the anti-air physical attack, you won't be destroying any blocks beneath you, and you can get the, whatchamacallit, the feat. Not easily, but, you know, you can get it. I wasted all of my potions when I did so, but, you know, I got it. I'm getting that one step closer to 100%ing this game. And I'm just gonna buy a few more bombs before I finally get that last set of bomb upgrades. After getting 50 more Cypher coins, we're gonna have the last set of upgrades. Well, not upgrades, the last set of combinations, I guess we could call it. Honestly, I should have gotten the lob casing a lot earlier, but since I had the big boom, I just didn't really care. The bomb that we just got, I forget the name of it, but tracer powder, there we go. If you throw it, then when it explodes, it'll leave a couple of flames behind that kind of trail on walls or the floor, if you're throwing it at the floor. Plague Knight used it during his boss fight, so that's pretty cool. And I also got a new fuse, the remote fuse. Basically, you throw it and press the button again, and Plague Knight will explode the bomb. It'll also stick to any surface, so if you want to throw the bomb at the wall, if you want the tracer powder to run along walls, then using the remote fuse would do the trick. Also, when using the remote fuse with a bomb that only... how should I describe it? A bomb that you can only have one of on screen at a time, Plague Knight will do a little specific animation where he kind of whips his wand forward and a little shockwave appears out of it, and then the bomb explodes. It's kind of cool, and it's a bit reminiscent of one of his animations in his boss fight, so I like it. And now we have another one of these enemy encounter sections. On my other file that I've been playing personally, again, I just keep bringing that up, I actually died in one of these enemy encounter things, and that is a very bad thing, because if you die in one of these, it does the same thing as it does in like Mario 3, where you'll get kind of sent back to a safe place, like the last place that you exited from, so basically the last stage you were at. And it saves that right after as well. So dying in one of these sections means that unless right as soon as you're about to die, you decide to like go to the home menu and quit or something like that, you're out of luck for the impossible feat, which is the one for not dying throughout the entirety of the game. And we're back in the Hall of Champions, although things aren't going to go exactly the same as they did previously. We have a bunch more of these knights to have to deal with. Well, I said have a couple too many times there. But there are cipher coins around that we may collect. And of course these knights which we must destroy. What we need to do is turn off the lights in every room. As you can see, all the lights are on. We need to essentially kill all of these soldiers who are just doing their jobs. And there are cipher coins hidden within the paintings, so destroy them in order to get the cipher coins behind them. There's also sometimes money, and sometimes more soldiers behind them. I would recommend... Excuse me. My voice kind of went weird there for a second. I would recommend using the big boom in order to deal with a lot of these paintings, because it can get a good amount of them, like maybe 5 or so, with one explosion. And there's another one of these gold knights who just have like so much invincibility sometimes. Like they do little hops backwards that make them invincible. That golden dash thing that they do is invincible. They're a bit of a hassle to deal with, but it's more of what I wanted, the whole fighting more good guys thing. So I'm actually cool with this bit of the game. They kind of ruin it a little bit later on, but, well, we'll get into that when we get into that. Right now we don't actually have to destroy the paintings. I'm of course going to destroy a lot of them because there's going to be cipher coins hidden behind them. But darkening the room just means defeating all the enemies in the room, so that's all you really have to do. We don't have any ghosts or special, what are they called? Balls, I guess you could call them. Spheres to deal with, to destroy said ghosts. The music playing also isn't the music that plays in the hall of Champions usually. I think this is the Plague Knight boss music, actually, so that's kind of odd. But whatever. Maybe it is. Maybe it's like the Hall of Champions theme mixed with Plague Knight's theme. I don't quite remember. I haven't really been paying attention to the music. I've gotten, I was trying to say kinda and have gotten at the same time. I've kinda gotten into the habit again of not really listening to video game music while I'm playing the video game. I kinda got out of it when I was playing Shovel Knight's campaign because, well, I was recording it. I needed to make sure that all the audio stuff was going well. So I was kind of forced to listen to the songs. But I think Plague Knight requires a little more focus when playing as him, so I wasn't paying attention to the music as much. And that's just kind of how things went. And of course, the painting that everybody cares about doesn't actually have anything behind it. Well, that's kind of mean, though, saying that nobody cares about the other paintings. The backer requirement for these, I think, was $200 that you had to donate in order to get your face in the Hall of Champions, which is, I guess, you know, it's substantially less than the 1,000 to get your developer for a day thing, but it's still pretty cool to have. I kind of wish I had done so. It'd be cool to say, hey, I'm in, you know, Shovel Knight, which is this really cool game. It's kind of old school, but new school at the same time. I don't know. This is the last room. I'm just kind of trying to fill in space. After defeating that last knight, though, sadly, we're automatically kicked out of the area. There's one last cipher coin in that set of paintings to the left that we weren't able to get because I killed the last knight prematurely. But luckily, we actually can re-enter because there's this sort of minigame that we can do here. You pay 500 gold, I think, and we need to defeat every one of these guards within 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Luckily, there are less guards than before, and I don't think there are any gold guards at all. There's only the regular silver ones. We actually get to see what the cipher coins look like when they're already collected. They're grayed out, kind of like with the music sheets. But I'm going to be going to the right here first because I want that cipher coin. And I don't want to, you know, accidentally destroy everything before I get it like I did last time. Oh, well, there's the difference between the first time that we go through this and this time. Not only just the enemies being different, but we need to actually destroy all of these paintings. You can't just defeat any enemy, or every enemy in the room in order to finish this minigame thing. And again, Big Boom is going to be your best friend here. The burst can, like the bomb burst, can get a good chunk of them, like maybe 3 or so, but the Big Boom just gets so many that it's the only way you can really get it under the time limit. My first time playing, I didn't really use the Big Boom, and I could not beat this within the time limit because I kept like individually going after every painting, which was really not the smartest thing to do. I just kind of didn't use any of the relics or arcana my first time going through, except for the ones that I really cared about, which in Shovel Knight was the Phase Locket, and then in Plague Knight was one that we're going to be getting in a later stage. Actually, we're going to be getting it pretty soon, so keep an eye out for it. Of course, I'm going to be mentioning it when we actually do get it, so you don't really need to keep an eye out. More so, keep an ear out for it. And no, this isn't the last room. There's 2 more rooms, the one off to the side of this one and the one just below, but we're really close to the end, and we're gonna have quite a bit of time to spare, as I recall. Recently I had a lot of time to spare. I had like a minute and not 50, a minute 30 to you know, not play around with, but a minute 30 left on the timer. Oh, that's something that I didn't mention. The treasure trappings. They actually also magnetize food to you, so if there's food that's a bit far away and you don't want to just... Wow. That bit of gold is just right next to me, and I can't get it. Even magnetizing doesn't work. But, yeah, you can magnetize food and magic jars, so that's pretty cool. And we get the feat Hall Villain, which is just for beating the Hall of Champions within the 3 minutes and 30 seconds that was allotted to us. Not for, like, beating it in under a minute or something like that. Just beat it within the time limit they give you and you get the Hall of Champions feat. So let's head back to the Potionatorium. Give this couple of... Well, it's not a couple. There's 3 of them. Give our music sheets to Percy. And just continue on with the journey. Next time we're going to be heading into Treasure Knight stage, the Iron Whale.